food modeling challenge that we have on the go. It's so wonderful to see everyone's take on how they go about modeling a food-related button for 60 seconds or 1 minute a day. All right, so if you're new to button teaching, you might be wondering just how far can all of this go? And we think this video really paints a picture of what's possible here. So I'm going to play this video now, but I do apologize if it's a little bit choppy. I've got a slight internet issue on my end, but any videos that are choppy, we'll make sure to make available to you in the community as well. So let's have a look at this video with Alexis and Buddy.
The foundation for getting started with buttons is just a desire to connect.
Do you need to get outside?
I can't remember the exact order, but I think she pressed super mad, and I was like, what does that mean? And then ouch paw. And she came over to me and she put her left paw in my hand, and I was like, okay. And I looked between her toes and she had a foxtail stuck between her toes.
This was the stranger in her paw. She's got a mat between her toes.
And it's not just Bunny who can do these amazing things. There are so many inspiring stories on the community that we'd encourage you to have a look out for. It really is amazing just how creative they can be with a limited vocabulary. Okie doke, so today we'll be covering 3 essential concepts. We'll have a look at how to model, choosing your first words, and target training. And these fundamentals will hopefully set you up for success with your learner. That being said, you know your learner best, and each learner is unique. So if you find that something we share with you today doesn't work for you, that's perfectly okay. These are just best practices that we've accumulated over the last 4 years and found that work best for new beginners. But as mentioned, you know your household best, and if there's anything that particularly motivates your learner, we can help you choose your starting words based on that. First, we'll be looking at how to model. First of all, what is modeling? So modeling is how we teach our learners what the concepts mean. So early on, we need to be sure we're picking buttons that we can say yes to the press to. Ultimately, we want to capture their excitement and enthusiasm at the board and teach them that this is an amazing tool that they now have available to them. So we'll be going through choosing your first words up next, but we wanted to give you an idea of how frequently you need to model before choosing your starting words. So there are 3 simple steps to modeling. The first is press a button that you can immediately and frequently follow through on. Step 2, follow through and demonstrate the meaning of the word. And step 3, go back to step 1. So there's a lot of repetition in the beginning. And in the beginning, you might find that you'll be the one doing most of the presses as you model these words for your learner. So here's a video of Kelly and her learner Delma as an example for you. But please note that this video has been edited, so you won't see Kelly take Delma outside or follow through in real time. It's just to show you the importance and how frequently she is modeling within the first 24 hours. So let's have a look at Kelly and Delma.
Puzzle. Outside. 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 Puzzle. Outside. Pet. Puzzle. Outside. Outside. Pet. Puzzle. Puzzle.
Yes. Puzzle. More puzzle?
Puzzle. Puzzle. Outside. 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 Puzzle. Outside. Puzzle. Outside. Outside. Outside.
And I just love how Dalma lifts his head in surprise when he accidentally presses that button, and Kelly confirms by getting off the lounger and confirming that she wants a puzzle and getting up and responding to her learner. So that's a beautiful example. But let's have a look at another one as well. And this one is from our food modeling challenge. So it focuses more on rapid modeling or modeling in succession with a food related button. Hi there, just a quick shout out to Teresa. I see you've joined us. Thank you so much. It's wonderful to have you here. Teresa is also one of our guides in the community and a great resource if you're looking for any advice. So that was another video of rapid modeling with Kelly. And what I like in this video particularly is how she's taken the button outside of the hex tile. She's using the kibble to press the button itself, almost as if to scent mark the button to help the learner engage with the button and to connect the dots and make that association. So another really great example here. Before we move on to choosing first words, I just wanted to stop and pause and see if anyone had any questions regarding modeling or what we've covered so far. Don't see any hands or anyone typing, so I'm going to move ahead. We'll have a look at choosing first words. So let's dive into choosing your starting words. In the beginning, we'd recommend starting with 2 or 3 buttons. So we want to use more than one button so that your learner can understand that different buttons mean different things. And we recommend starting with 1 button per hex tile for clarity. So this is to give your learner lots of space between the tiles so that in the beginning, when they're pressing or when you notice accidental presses, these can be navigated easier when you have less buttons on the tiles. So next we want to pick buttons that are motivating and meaningful to your learner. We also want to make sure that they're easy and convenient to model immediately. Just as an example, when we started, one of the words that I chose was outside, and unfortunately very quickly realized that it wasn't something that I could model 50 to 25 times a day, weather permitting. If you live on the 10th floor, just as another example, it's not going to be easy and convenient for you to model outside 15 to 25 times a day. So to recap, we want to make sure that we're picking buttons that are motivating and meaningful and easy and convenient for us to model immediately. And this is because we're aiming to model 15 to 25 times per day, and we want to be ready to respond every time our learner presses, especially in the beginning, just to help reinforce the meaning of the words. The next point is that we want to make sure that they are concrete and actionable, so not abstract. For more clarity, let's go through some examples that we would suggest you start with. On this list, you'll see we have play or toy. Now, you could start with a more general play, but if there is a specific toy that your learner finds particularly motivating, I'd recommend starting with that. In some cases, this could look like ball, feather toy, or any other toy that your learner finds particularly motivating. Now, treat is another great starting word. And not only is food highly motivating for most learners, but it can be particularly useful in target training that we'll get to next. But some of you might be worried that your learner will spam food-related buttons, and if you'd prefer, you don't have to start with food-related buttons in the beginning, but we have found that learners will find a way to communicate about food even if they don't have a specific word for it yet. So remember, we're still honoring their vocalizations and body language, and the buttons are simply an optional tool for them to use. And interestingly enough, we found that once learners realize that it's no longer a limited resource and something that they can request and ask for, we find that often their urgency decreases as they gain a sense of agency. Now, puzzle is a firm favorite amongst the community. And puzzles are great sources of enrichment, but can also help slow down food-motivated learners who frequently press for treats. So you could use it to redirect them to a fun food dispensing toy or licky mat, to buy yourself some time, and to give them an enriching activity to go to. The next one you'll see is pets and scritches. Ultimately here, we're looking for an attention-seeking button. So attention-seeking buttons are great starting words. And for cats, you might consider something like brush or anything else your learner finds motivating and involves some sort of affection from a human. Another word you could consider is cuddle or maybe even hugs. Now you'll notice on the far end that we also recommend slightly more abstract concepts like more and all done. However, we would like to add a caveat here that we'd only recommend putting these down after your learner is pressing their first 5 or 6 buttons, and to start modeling these verbally in the meanwhile to help with the brakes on that I'm too busy and inadvertently shut him down at the board. So he slowly lost interest. And we pretty much had to start again, reset the board, and make sure that I was choosing words that I could say yes to that helped him step up and rekindle his interest in the board. So again, we're looking for solid independent presses for the first 5 or 6 buttons here before we consider abstract concepts. Just to delve a little bit deeper into abstract concepts, we do want to make sure that we add them in pairs. So soon and now, yes and no, more and all done. And this is so that we can model them in contrast to each other. The same applies to emotions like happy and sad, bearing in mind these are abstract concepts, and with the board being an abstract concept itself, we'd recommend only adding these later on, and the same applies to people or time-based concepts for your learner. Now for the last button, we recommend choosing a word that's unique to your household, something special between you and your learner. And this could be a specific toy or favorite activity, something fun and again, engaging for your learner. In our household, we added feather toy, but some other options include cat TV, catnip. If you have a dog learner, you could go with a chase or shred button. There's flirt pole, Kong, Pop Cup, and Topple. So again, something fun and engaging for your learner, even if it means going out and buying an inexpensive toy for them in the beginning. I find personally that novelty helps quite a bit. Even if I go and make changes at the board, this is when I see Jason is most intrigued and most excited to see what's going on and what's happening. And I find it the perfect opportunity to add new words or to make changes to the board when he's in that think and learn space. Another great option here is if your learner can't go outside, but it is a button that you are considering, you might want to consider adding a word like porch or window to give them some access to the outside that's somewhat restricted and that you've got more control over. And it's a great idea if you have a cat that does like to go outside but will settle for a window, you could start with a window button instead. Or if you have a cat that likes to hide in a closet or specific space, you could go ahead and give that a try and offer them a button to get them access into that space or cupboard. And I think Robin has some experience with this. I was wondering, Robin, if you're willing, if you'd like to share anything regarding your journey and the word choices that you started with.
Sure. For us, I definitely started with treat, scritches. I actually started with scritches and pets because to me they're two separate things. And there were, I think I started with 5, but I can't remember the other. And Bert absolutely loved scritches. And that was his favorite button. I was surprised treat was a very close second. But he's just a mama's boy. And Ernie has the closet button because I keep it locked because he knocks everything down when he goes in there. So I prefer that he's not in there, but let him have some time in his cat cave. So that's a fun one for him. And then we have like some specific toys for Ernie, like the Nene. And Ernie presses water a lot when he hears the air conditioning or heat come on. So I actually give him a button that says HVAC to talk about that. And then another favorite of his is music. So he's really into what he's hearing. Really interesting.
I love that. Oh, thank you so much, Robin. I love the music button as well, very similar to the Cat TV button.
Yes.
But absolutely, I think that's wonderful. And Robin has had such amazing progress with both Bert and Ernie. I'd highly recommend following them on Instagram and within the community. They have some amazing tips and tricks for both multi-learner households as well as dogs and cat-specific households. So really a great resource there as well.
And if you have any trouble with dogs stealing the buttons off of the board, I've got you there too.
Wonderful. Thank you, Robin. I do see we have Teresa on call. There's absolutely no pressure, Teresa, but if you do want to jump in, feel free to raise your hand. We value your insights and you're always welcome to share your thoughts as well. We'd like to move on to the next slide real quick. And I just figured since we've gone over some words that you should maybe consider starting with, let's go over some words that we found come with a few challenges and might not be the best words to start with. So as Robin mentioned, water is something that is frequent in their household. And in most cases, we would recommend, again, starting with water on the board. But then again, each household is unique. And if your learner finds water particularly motivating, perhaps to play, or they have another meaning for the word, it's definitely worth giving it a try. But in terms of just a bowl of water, we find that this is typically hard to model. So I find that if I'm modeling water with Jason, I can quite easily put it down the first time and show him, yes, I filled your bowl with water. But when he presses it again, or if I want to rapid model the word, I'm kind of stuck with regards to what I can show him and deliver the meaning of the word repetitively. So might not be the best word to start with, but absolutely, if your learner finds water highly motivating, I'd recommend giving it a bash and seeing how it goes. So the next one is outside. Again, we've covered this, and it's just because it can be relatively difficult to model 15 to 25 times a day. That said, if you are willing and able, it can be a great starting button for your household. It all depends on what works best for your learner. Now, very similar, we have potty and poop. I will add here that if you did start with an outside button, I'd advise against adding the potty and poop at the same time. And this is because when we're modeling outside or potty poop, in the beginning, it looks very similar. So we're gearing up to go outside, we open the door, we press the button, we go outside, whether it's to potty or poop or even play outside, but it looks the same initially and can be quite confusing to our learners. It's also not something that we can force our learner to model. We don't have control over their bodily systems. So potty and poop, whilst they might be great additions for later on, we wouldn't recommend starting with just because we're not able to model it frequently enough. The next, and on similar lines, we have walk. Again, if this works for you in your household, this is an option for you, but we find that most aren't able to honor a walk request 15 to 25 times a day. Yes, Jason, kibble soon. And we've been taking part in the food modeling challenge, and we're having some success with the kibble and eat button. So please bear with the presses in the background. If it gets too much, I might need to get him a fresh bowl of kibble. Just back to the words with challenges. We also have bone, also something not that you can give 15 to 25 times a day. Yes, Jason, kibble soon. Calvin, work now. Give him another minute or two.
Feed the cat. Feed the cat.
Yeah, if I may, if I could just grab him a bowl of kibble, just to put him...
Oh, that's funny.
Definitely learning from Calvin.
Jason wants kibble.
Yeah, so again, like Calvin was saying, bone is different. You can't repeat it multiple times a day. It takes a long time to consume, and so you can't do it rapidly. People and pets. Oh, Calvin's back. So there you go.
Thank you so much, Robin and Teresa. Jason is now happily face in the bowl. So we'll have a few minutes to get through the rest. But thank you so much for jumping in, Robin. Yeah, so people and pets also relatively difficult for beginners in the beginning. And when it comes to their own name, we always like to say that when they're pressing the button, especially in the beginning, their name is sort of implied. They're pressing the button because they want food. So adding their name to the board or other people's names, particularly in the beginning, might not be the best. And we generally keep these for later on. So once you're starting to see real independent presses, then you can start verbally modeling people and pets. Yes and no are quite difficult ones. I have a little bit of experience with this one too, adding yes and no to the board at the same time, but realizing that no was rather difficult to model when there was an accidental press. So when Jason would roll over the buttons or accidentally press yes or no, there wasn't really a way for me to follow through on that. And I ended up just asking him questions and giving him the options on the board. But I do think that it caused a little bit of confusion. So later on, we changed this to a soon and all done, which I found was a bit easier for Jason because he does seem a bit sensitive to a no, and the all done or soon is a yes, but just not now. So it buys me a little bit of time. And then more abstract concepts, we like time-based emotions and places. Again, these are rather difficult for our learners in the beginning, especially while they're still trying to figure out the mechanisms of the board itself. Okay, so I just want to move on to the next slide, but we'll pause for a moment just to check if anyone has any questions or anything they'd like to add. Okie dokes. So on to target training.
I don't know how to do my, there's no hand button, raise my hand button.
Okay, I'm sorry, Teresa, go ahead though.
I was just going to say it's very common for people to not get the right starting buttons at first. When I first started with Bella, she is super highly motivated to play. And I put like play and tug, and I think I put ball or something to that effect. Well, she wasn't super motivated by all three of them. So I had to choose one, and I stuck with play for a while, and since I've changed it to ball because she's more hot. I'm just saying, don't feel bad if you have to change out the words because it takes a little figuring out sometimes to figure out what's the best motivator for them.
I love that so much. Thank you, Teresa. I think that's so important. I think when we start out, we're so afraid to make mistakes and we're so afraid to confuse our learners that we are hesitant to make those changes, but you are 100% correct. If you find that the buttons that you've chosen aren't really working and aren't motivating for your learner, but it's helped you identify what is motivating to your learner, then absolutely go ahead, make the changes to your buttons, re-record the words, and start remodeling from there. We found that our learners are quite resilient to change. And if you make the changes with them present and model consistently, they tend to catch on very quickly. So thank you, Teresa. That's an amazing point. I do see that Lara's also raised her hand. You're most welcome to unmute yourself and go ahead.
My laptop will allow me. So in the first video, there was when the dog hit the button by accident, it seemed like the person used a marker word, said yes. Is that a technique you would recommend for reinforcement? Because I've used that for learning obedience, but not sure if that would apply, the same concept would apply or translate well here.
I'll answer that.
Go for it, Robin.
Yes and no. So for it depends how rigid you are. For me, yes means you are receiving a treat always. And it is a marker word, just like when you use a clicker, yes means you are getting a treat. So I would use like yay or some other affirmative
Okay.
that is not yes if you use yes with a treat and you are more on that path with training. But if you're not that rigid, then yes is absolutely fine. But you definitely want to acknowledge them and say, absolutely, you're getting that thing, we're doing it. Because a puzzle takes a little bit of a minute to put together.
To put together.
You
Yeah.
probably don't have one prepared and ready to go sitting next to the board, but kudos to you if you do. So yeah, you want to acknowledge that press right away. With stuff like treat, if it's right by the, I used to keep a treat jar right next to the Bert, right next to the board, and keep the toy that he liked to play with right next to the board, but out of his reach. And I always have my hands on me for pets and scritches, so I was always ready to go, and I could easily get right to it, so I didn't need that bridge. But with something like a puzzle, yeah, you need to have some sort of bridge marker. But my dog trainer has taught me that it should be a different word than the one that you deliver treats with.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we do the same thing for like if they don't do it immediately when asked. As far as the obedience thing goes, there's like an intermediary, almost kind of a thing. So
yeah,
a bridge. Okay. Cool. Thank you. Appreciate it.
No problem.
I love that. Thank you so much, Robin. Perfect answer. All right. So I think this also comes up in target training. You'll also hear Alexis again reference marker words. And then in the next video with Julian Loki, I think she uses the whistle as her marker instead. So absolutely feel free to change this up and find what works best for you. Let's have a look at the target training video with Alexis and Bunny. So as we were mentioning earlier, target training isn't mandatory, but it can be incredibly helpful in the beginning, setting the tone and making it easier for your learner to understand how to press the buttons, and can also be a useful step if your learner is pressing. Sorry, if you have put the buttons down, but your learner isn't really pressing independently yet. I know we have some schools of thought regarding target training as well. So after the videos, I'll open up to our guides as well, just to share some or anything they'd like to add regarding target training as well. Let's dive into the video real quick. Have a look.
Okay, so today we are going to do a little paw targeting tutorial. Hi, sweetie. She knows something exciting is happening. First thing we're going to do is we're going to condition a marker word. She's offering me kisses right now because she knows something fun is happening. Our marker word is yes. Anytime I say the word yes, it means that she gets a treat, and it means that she's on the right track and we're doing shaping training, which is what this is. So to condition a marker word, you can either use a clicker or a word. I'm going to use yes. You just say the word yes and you give a treat. Yes. 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 So you'll want to do that for a little while and make sure that they have built that association. And then what you're going to do, she's offering anything she can. You're giving me kisses. That's really sweet. Yes. Good girl. So then we're going to start with a Tupperware. You're going to take a treat. Your dog sees the treat. You're going to put it under the Tupperware, and then you're going to wait for them to interact with it. She's using her nose. Yes. And as soon as she touches it with her paw, I say yes, and I give her a treat. Now, obviously, she's already done this a lot before, so she understands it. But what you would do if your dog doesn't interact with their paw at first is you would wait for tiny incremental successes. So at first, if she noses it, you can say yes and reward. That's good. You can add a little bit of movement to get them more interested if they're not interested in interacting with it. And if they just get close to it, reward that too, because the closer that they're getting to it, the more you can build successes instead of failures, the better. You can't over-reward. You can under-reward, and then they'll lose interest. Yes. But once they've got the paw consistently touching the object, then you can add the cue word, which is going to be Look at her, she knows what's going on. It's just going to be paw or touch or whatever you want it to be. For us, it's paw. So then I will show her the Tupperware and I will say paw. Yes. Paw. Yes. Good girl. And then what you want to do is you want to generalize it. So you don't want the cue paw to just mean I touch a Tupperware lid when you say that. So you want it to mean that I touch anything. So we have the stuffed animal, paw. Yes, good girl. I have this book, paw. Yes. I have this watering can, paw. Yes. I have a slipper, paw. Yes, good girl. And then once you've gotten it to that point that she's generalized it well, then you take the treats out of the picture. Take your tile with your button. This is an outside button. Paw. Yay, good girl. And then instead of rewarding with treats, she knows that we're in a training session right now, so it's a little bit different. Instead of rewarding with treats, you reward with the action of the button. So once I say paw, she presses the outside button, then we go outside and we celebrate. And you can apply that to any button you're learning. I really hope this helps you guys.
So just to reiterate, if you have decided not to use treat or a food-related button in the beginning, you can start with any of your chosen starting words and build from there with target training as well. I do like the video with Julie and Loki for cat-specific or small learners as well. So let's have a quick look at their video as well. As mentioned, you'll notice instead of the yes that Alexis used, Julie is using a whistle as her marker in this video with her cats.
The first thing you're going to do is find a clear container and a treat to put under it. And then you're going to reinforce them for touching it. They might touch the side. What you're really looking for is the top, but at first you're going to reinforce anytime they touch it. Get a couple of good repetitions at this step until they're doing it really consistently. There she goes, touches the top one, gets a treat. Excuse my other cats doing other behaviors in the background. Your second step is to place the button under the container, and you can put the treat under there also if they need that extra motivation. But you're looking for the same thing, to touch the top of the container and then they get a treat. Just getting the idea that they're touching the top of something is what you're looking for. Now we have the button on the hex tile, and I put the clear container on it just as a little review, just to make sure we're still in the same spot. They're now both touching the top of the container, so they're getting rewards for that. And then we're going to take the container off and try to get them to touch the button itself. Now Loki's kind of grabbing the button. She's not activating it yet, which is totally fine. All I'm looking for is for her to touch the top of the button. You'll even see that sometimes Trouble and Loki will have a little bit of trouble getting to the button and they might touch right next to it. That's also fine at this stage. I have found that being able to move the tile back and forth kind of gets them a little bit more motivated to press harder because they're trying to catch it. So you're kind of making a game out of it. Now you're ready to have buttons on your soundboard. You may still need to cue them to press and still continue to shape how they press and how hard they press. But now you're ready to start doing all the modeling and giving them all the things they ask for.
Amazing. I just wanted to add that you might have noticed in the text section there, she mentioned that she uses a clicker as well to keep the attention away from her hands. And with smaller learners and with cat-specific learners, I find that using a pointer or something that you can direct your attention to the buttons to without using your hands is particularly useful and helps them keep their attention on the buttons themselves. I also see that Robin has left a comment in regarding target training, saying that she used a method in between these two with Bert, her dog learner, and used Post-it notes to transfer the behavior from a Tupperware lid to a button. However, going back, I would have held off on target training because Bert became dependent on me being at the board for him to use it. And then we had to get over that hurdle. So again, I think this point is very fair and valid. Target training isn't mandatory. It is an extremely useful step that if you find your learners battling to grasp the concept of the buttons in the beginning, then absolutely yes, I'd recommend giving target training a bash. But I myself, with Jason, didn't start with target training. We relied more on accidental presses. So I'd strategically placed the buttons around. Some of them I even took out of the hex tile and put near to his food bowl or nearer to his toys, so that when he accidentally pressed these buttons, I could quickly follow through with the action and show him the meaning of the word, and slowly over time get him to press the buttons by dragging toys over the board, using a laser pointer to guide him to the play button and get him to pounce on it instead, but slowly over time learn the mechanisms behind the press. Now, target training can help speed up your learner's understanding of getting the mechanisms of the press, but as Robin mentioned, you might also run into risks with them only wanting to interact with the board while you're present. So we do have some extra tips and tricks for that. One of them would be when you're starting out at the board, you're obviously very close with your learner, very nearby, and you have, it normally looks like you sitting down by the board with them, actively pressing buttons or you modeling for them. And gradually over time, what we'd want to do is have you slowly but incrementally move away from the board. So you'd start by changing into a kneeling position and moving a little bit further away from the board, and then modeling that way. And a little bit later on, maybe standing up and moving yourself even a bit further away from the board. And that will sort of help them dissociate the need for you to be there in order for them to press. Or you could look into avenues like the button trap, which I'll pop a link in the chat to now. But essentially, the button trap is all about pretending to be busy while your learners are waiting for you to engage with them at the board. And your absence of your attention might just prompt them to press the buttons to call you to the board or to get your attention again. So it's another great tip to build onto target training. But I found that as a whole, using all of these steps together, maybe not in sequence, but slowly introducing them all is what's helped me to get Jason to press. And Robin, I don't know if you wanted to add anything with target training, but you are welcome to unmute yourself and share if you prefer as well.
Sure. Yeah, and I added in the chat. I absolutely, if I were to start again with a new dog, I would do modeling until I got my first presses, and then I would do target training to refine their technique so that they knew that they could use it on their own, and then just help them with dexterity. For my cat, though, I definitely am glad I did target training because he really is a premier presser up at the levels of Bunny in terms of putting just perfectly pressing his paw on the button. And he did not have independence issues. He had cat issues on deciding when he was ready to speak. So that's just my 2 cents. And the button trap really helped Ernie. Just pretending to be on my phone or putzing around the kitchen, putting the dishes in the dishwasher, whatever. That seemed to work for Ernie. He was like, wait a minute, pay attention to me.
I love that. Thank you, Robin. So yeah, I think the takeaway here is there is a lot of nuance. There is a lot that we're still figuring out, and that's why the community is so great, and that we get to share our experience and what's worked for us with everyone, and hopefully together we can find the ways of best button teaching. But go with what works for you. Go at your learner's pace and let them take the lead. And slowly but surely they'll get the grasp of pressing the buttons, but also connecting the dots and understanding that different buttons mean different things. So we are just about on time. I'm so sorry to keep all of you. I just want to very, very quickly share some additional resources with you, and then we'll open up for more Q&A. And I'm happy to stay on call if there are any questions afterwards as well. Most important place, as mentioned, would be our community here at fluent.pet. Just going to flick on over to another screen and show you where to find some of the resources. You might be familiar with the login page at community.fluent.pet. You have your welcome area where you can introduce yourself and find some button teaching FAQs, as well as community events like the weekly office hours. We then have the Button Bootcamp space, which is where we are now. So you'll see the events for the Button Bootcamp, and this is where you can RSVP to upcoming bootcamps of your choice. Just want to refresh the page quickly. If you are looking for a past bootcamp or recording, all you need to do is navigate to events, and then on the drop-down arrow, select past and choose the bootcamp that you're looking to rewatch. There are some that are missing, but we are working on getting those uploaded as well. In the discussion space, that's where you'll find most of the resources that we've shared with you today, but some additional resources for you as well. It's also a great place to pop through any questions you might have for our guides and instructors if you do find you're battling along the way. So on the web version or desktop, you'll see that there are handy links at the top to our Learning Center, Paul targeting tutorial, button teaching tutorials, and cat-specific tutorials, as well as our soundboard planning tool. And if we scroll down, you'll see that we have the videos listed in here. They are right at the bottom though, for the Paul targeting videos that we've watched today. There we go. So we've got the Paul targeting tutorials, cat-specific tutorials, the soundboard planning tool. Particularly helpful if you're a planner. We have the FluentPet app overview by Robin, and then some other Q&A that you might find helpful. The chat section is very similar. We'd love to hear about your successes and wins, or if you are battling along the way, please feel free to reach out and one of our guides would be happy to help you. And then that's it for the community. So share this tab instead. We also have the Let's Get Them pressing course. We have just started the new one, but we've only gone through introduction so far. So I just want to get that link for you quickly. The Let's Get Them pressing courses are fantastic in that you also get one-on-one live coaching with Alexis and Diane of Neurodog Training. And there is also a 25% discount on the course. So I'll pop that discount code in the chat now as well. And that'll get you 25% off. I'm just going to leave this on so you can see some of the topics that are included in the Let's Get Them pressing course. Robin has been in our Let's Get Them pressing course twice. So Robin, I don't know if you'd like to share perhaps why you or what you found helpful in the Let's Get Them pressing course.
Bert keeps adjusting my monitor here. I really loved the individualized feedback that I was able to get and the live coaching sessions. Alexis made the suggestion. We were struggling when I had Ernie's board on the she who shall not be named thought I was talking to her. She made the recommendation. Sorry, Bert muted me. Next to where I spend most of my day, and then I was able to model more, and that's when we really saw him flourish. So, change the picture, change the game, and get different results. And it was super helpful. And I got a lot of connections from that course. The people that were in it, I still connect with regularly on the community app.
Thank you so much, Robin. Sorry, I was stuck between slides there. Just want to share one more with the group. Let's share this one instead. And this is for 15% off all products for the next 24 hours. Just want to copy that into the chat real quick. And then lastly, we are always looking for feedback So please let us know how the session went, what you found helpful, or if you think we can improve. We'd love to hear your thoughts. So just going to pop that in. And that's all we have for you presentation-wise today. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and open up for Q&A. We are slightly over time, so if anyone needs to hop off urgently, it's been a pleasure having you. I'll hang around for a couple of minutes just to see if there are any questions that we can answer for you. You are most welcome, Laura. And then Robin, Oma, and Teresa, just want to say thank you so much for the support and being here. Always magical having you with us. And Robin, thank you for helping with the training questions. I would have got stuck on that one. So really grateful that you were here for that. Thank you.
No problem. I actually had that question for my trainer about the yes versus specifically. So I had that one locked and loaded.
I love that. I'm stealing it though. I'm going to put it in my notepad straight away. Teresa, just one last check to see if we can help you with anything. Who's hungry? Is that Bert?
It's Ernie. Bert's on my lap.
Oh, there we go. All right, guys. I think that's it for today. But once again, hold on. Teresa, the code for the Let's Get Them Pressing is class 25. And then the February 11 boot-25 is for 15% off all products on the store. So Teresa's still typing, so just want to hang on a second. All right. Once again, thank you so much, guys. Feel free to DM me if you need anything at all, and thank you for being here with me. Have a good one. Bye for now. Yes.